Okay, so here I am with the iPad. You can have your different, you can change and have your different organs here. And then the pitch bend works normally because my keyboard happens to have a pitch bend on it. So now what's great is that and I try to press hard here so you can hear my keyboard, my actual keyboard hitting. So there's no delay in the USB interface, so that's really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay down a piece real quick so I can show you how everything works. So it's going to be really simple, but what I always recommend for people is planning first. We're going to go ahead and record. Now before we record, we're going to set the key that we're going to be in. So you go to your settings here and you check that the key is whatever key you want to make it in. So I'm going to actually put it in D major. Now you want to set this up first, because if you don't set this up first, then you'll have an issue with all your keys. If you change it later, all your keys being the same. So you want to be able to do that really well. So we're going to set your key, and then of course we're going to set the tempo at the same time while we're here. So the tempo that I want is going to be let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to have basically 100. Okay, and we're going to do a count in. Our time signature is going to be let's try 3/4. Let's make it a little bit of a waltz. And then this is more technical, but you might want to do some sort of figure out what key it's in and you know, play through the key. Now I'm going to do something that's very popish and use the same 4 chords. We're going to use D major, then we're going to go to B minor, then we're going to do to G, and then we're going to do an E to A. So actually 5 chords. So D, B minor, G, E, A. Okay? And then we're going to do a song with that. So let's make it really simple so we can see how everything works together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set, we already set our count in to be to come in, and we're going to use our metronome for the first couple of pieces that we come in, because since I'm a pianist, I like to play the piano first, and then a little tip actually, if you're whatever your strength is, play that instrument first, and then if you have time or if you don't like what you did, at the very end take it out and play it again, and I'll show you what we're talking about as we do that. So let's go ahead and play the piano first. We're gonna do we're gonna set up our first section to be 8 bars long. So our song is going to be 24 bars long. We're going to have a beginning, a middle section that's 8 bars, and an ending that's also 8 bars. So 24 bars long. So let's make our entrance part first. So the first part. Oh, and then I forgot that it was 3. I was waiting for 4. So it's 1, 2, 3. Now, that first section is a little sloppy because, of course, you know, even though I hear the metronome, it's not, you know, completely perfect. So we could always go into our settings here, and actually not the settings, the mixing settings, and go to quantization. And under quantization, you have quarter note, 8th note, 16th note, etc. So since I'm basically playing my quarter notes pretty well, I'm going to go to 8th note. And of course you can also listen to it just to see that everything's set up the right way. Sounds good to me. So now we're going to go back to our mixer here. We all know the the GarageBand mixer. We're very familiar with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this section and we're going to duplicate it 2 times. Now we have an A, a B, and a C that sound exactly the same for the piano. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and go to all sections, and right here we're going to record our bass. So what's great about using your own keyboard is that even, oops, not the strings, even though we have the strings, the smart bass here, we can actually play what we want to make it a little bit more organic. So here is our key signature in the key of D, so we can actually go, and then here's our B minor, and then we said G, and then we had E minor, A. And that sounds just fine, but I like to play what I like to play. Right? So let's try that down. We're going to go ahead and record just section A, because basically we might actually copy that the same way. So we're going to go to this A section. That brings up the first 8 measures, and we're going to go ahead and play through that. I had a little mistake on my bass. Now I can choose to record everything completely, but let me show you something that we can also do, just in case you didn't know. If you go back to your track, here's your bass, and we can click here and actually click it twice, and we can press edit. And then we can go through and see the part that we had messed up. We can pinch to zoom. So this is a lot faster than actually using your mouse. So let's go back and just see where we may have that actual mess up. Well, there's one right there that we really don't need. So right here we have that's the right note, and this was a mistake, so we delete that. So bum ba dum. So this was supposed to be bum bum bum. This is supposed to be. Let's take that, delete that. There you go. And then of course you can actually hear the note while you're playing. That happens on most MIDI sequencers. You can actually hear the note as you play it, so that you can see that if that's what you want. And now I'm sure I have to push it over. Okay, so this needs to be pushed over. Now I'm going to be able to do that on the actual quantization, but just to get the main meat of what I want, I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to push it over, just like that. So boom, 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 boom. So this right here, we don't need this. Oops, undo. Nifty undo there. So we don't need this one here. So doom doom. Push this over a bit. And then this length here, just hold the end of it, and then we have the length can be changed. So just like that. Now we need to quantize it. So now we click done. We've finished editing. We're going to make sure that we can quantize it. Go to the mixing settings, quantization, 8th note. Then we say done. Let's see what we got. So we're going to go ahead and copy that also. So to copy that, we're going to go to all sections. We're going to do this, and actually you have two options. You can either loop it. Since it's quantized, it's going to loop perfectly, or you can actually just copy and paste. But we're going to go ahead and loop. And then loop it as far as you have the entire song. So now let's put a little bit of let's go ahead and put all our different synths in. So we have some pads, we have some leads. Let's do a pad. Let's see what different pads we have here. We have this sounding pad. That's not too bad. I need a little bit more punchiness there. Now I like that, but I don't like the cutoff. Actually the attack. So I can go ahead and press, and then actually the beautiful thing about having an iPad, of course, is the touch sensitivity. So you don't have knobs to play with, but you have these virtual knobs, which is pretty good. So I want this attack to be a little bit more aggressive. That's a little bit better. Maybe a little less. Very nice. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to press, we're going to play through this one, and then I'll get back to you. So now I have the warming waves done, and after listening to it, I didn't like it. So what's great about MIDI is that the information is already in, but you can go ahead and change the sounds. So here's the sounds we have now. That's a little bit too aggressive, so what we're going to do is we're going to change the same, we're going to have the same music, but different instruments at all. So I really liked these keys right here, and let's try see what that sounds like. A little bit more subtle, but it's still in the background. I love that much better. So now, of course, we're all wondering about how the drums are going to work. So let's go ahead and put the drums in. Now you have two choices. Of course, we could always go ahead and build from the smart drums, and that's usually a good way. But of course, if you wanted to play with the drums, you can go ahead and play the drums yourself. And of course, those correspond to the MIDI sections. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the smart drums in this case, because I want to actually go ahead and build from there. Now remember, when you're recording the smart drums record every motion that you do. So if you move the smart drums in as you're recording, that movement is actually going to be recorded. So let's go ahead and start with something interesting here. Very good. Yeah, I think that would be a nice little alternative measure. You know, you don't want it to be too out of the ordinary. And since of course I'm Hispanic, so this is what I want to eventually have happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with, I'm going to do this on a third, and then I'm going to put this to be soft at first and then eventually grow. So I'll show you how that works. So we're going to go ahead and start it off. And as you can see, when it plays through, all the movements that I did are recorded. Now it's time to do our lead. Just something simple, because everything needs a melody, right? So let's go ahead and go back to our mixer. And we're going to sort of compose something that'll be nice for the lead. So let's go ahead and go back to our keyboard, and instead this time go to our leads, and actually go ahead and put a little, let's see what we have here. A vintage lead. Okay, let's try that out. Now notice, even though I had started the recording from the very beginning, it didn't start to do any of the recording of the actual MIDI until I started playing a MIDI note. So that's usual to how MIDI is recorded. Even though you have an open recording enabled track, it doesn't start actually recording things until you have your MIDI, which is different of course from audio, that it'll just do an open audio as long as you have a recording track open. So now of course we can do our mixing here, we can do a lot of things here, and what's great about it is I've done everything on my iPad. I can hear everything on my speakers depending on how good my speakers are on my keyboard, and I can listen to the bass, I can hear just about everything. So let's see what we have so far. Let's go ahead and do some mixing. Of course, let's bring this out a little bit, and we're going to do some simple mixing. Now the piano is very busy, so we're going to have to play that again. So first thing we're going to do, of course, we're going to clean up that lead a little bit. So let's go ahead and clean that up. So we're going to click on it again, click edit. I'm going to bring up the edit screen here, and we're going to go through and see how we have everything set up. Oops, let's go ahead and set this right here. Now, right there, now I want this to be pushed over a little bit here. Oop, let's undo that. Push this over, and let's see what we have so far. Now this little glitch right here, we can delete. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our, because we're done with this. That's the advantage of playing your strength of instrument first and then playing it last again. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn off the metronome since we don't need it anymore. And we're going to make our piano come in nice and organically. Much nicer, I think. So once again, I hope you enjoyed my little demo here of how to get the most out of your iPad if you're a musician, or if you just want to have some fun with it. Once again, all you need is a little USB cable, your USB adapter, and if you want, either some headphones or an adapter that goes from your iPad into your keyboard, so you can hear on your keyboard speakers instead of the tiny speakers on the iPad. So go ahead and enjoy and make some music.